Hello, everyone. This is Dylan Miles, host of the Off Menu Insights podcast, where we talk to founders, entrepreneurs, and operators across all different kinds of industries to learn their stories and hidden insights that got them there. Today, I'm joined by Eric Caturia, Executive Vice President at Hustad Companies out of Omaha, Nebraska. Eric, how are you doing? Thanks for being
Good,
on.
Dylan.
Very good. Very good. Well, I'm exciting. We got into a lot the last time we talked, and I think there's a lot of great material here and a different perspective that a company like yours has taken, that's really differentiating yourselves from the rest of the market. So we'll get into all of that. But for people who don't know, talk a little bit maybe about yourself, about the company. I think paints a picture for people right now who don't know about either.
Okay, yeah, definitely. I've been with Houston for almost 20 years. I started in Madison, Wisconsin. I was just kind of looking for a summer gig. Ended up taking this job that had no guaranteed pay and it was all commission based, no leads. They just kind of send you out there and tell you to go sell some people some hail work. So we did that, or I did that. It did okay. I kind of decided that I wanted to go more after the commercial and multifamily clients, which was more of the company's founding. Had really good luck that first year, developed some great relationships, learned a lot, and decided that this was going to be the role for me, this the company for me, and I've been here ever since. Eventually, that following year, I had an opportunity to open office in Omaha. It's developed the same type of relationships where we just went after multifamily local regional ownership groups. And over time, we had a lot of success. We're still here 19 years later. I consider myself in Nebraska now, even though born and raised in Wisconsin.
Very nice. And talk to us a little bit about more of the company, maybe like kind of the traditional aspects to it, and then your part in taking on Nebraska, opening it up, and just some of the early challenges that were really pivotal and got you to the place you are now.
Yeah, boy, when it comes to the challenges, like, those are never ending, right?
Yeah.
Anybody who works with business, I'm pretty sure can attest to that. Houston, when I first started, it really was truly just a mom and pop shop. There wasn't much for marketing. There wasn't much of a game plan. There wasn't infrastructure, operationally speaking. It'd been in business for 30 years. It worked, right? But Lee ran it all himself. So over the last 20 years, especially in the last 5 to 10, we've really pivoted into focusing on the national multifamily, the REITs, and trying to provide a service that everybody is providing in the aspect of, yes, we do roofing, but we look at it in a different way to bringing value and differentiating ourselves, which is standardizing inspections across portfolios, across regions, regardless of who is looking at these reports in an office somewhere can clearly make decisions. That has been one of the largest things that we focused on. And today's market with AI and all of older school softwares that exist that people have been using in our industry forever, we were able to really adapt from that and just kind of use those original softwares as like our data collection points. So yeah, so I mean, mainly what we do is provide a service that is based on data and keeping everything aligned across the portfolio.
No, I don't want to gloss over too much, but I want to get into the meat and bones of it, which you really just mentioned that I found so interesting when digging more into it and talking to you before this. But I think for people who maybe are in this industry, I know I have some friends or people in my neck of the woods who are either starting a roofing company, or want to be an entrepreneur or want to be like a founding part of a company. Could you tell us a little bit more about yourself? You took this risk taking the job and then having a new expansion that you were responsible for in Nebraska. I really just want to paint a picture for people. Do you think it's something that you were wired with in terms of just going after it and getting it? But because I think a lot of people in your, when you're younger, you can be there and be like, wow, there's so many options, you could get paralyzed. So I think, was there a certain framework, I guess I'm trying to pull out when you go back to those days of really getting it off the ground? and then something maybe about yourself that helped you get it off the ground?
Yeah, yeah, that's pretty simple when you're younger. Or at least when I was younger, I feel like I still have the same work ethic, a singular focus, right? I got lucky. I found something that was really interesting to me, not roofing per se, but the business. So I think that came from my family. Most of my family members were entrepreneurs. They owned their own businesses, especially in Wisconsin. That part of my family was pretty heavy into the timber industry. They had their own sawmills and kilns and all this kind of stuff, right? And it was always kind of cool to see what they were dealing with the people, with the processes, and just always having something to do and to fix. There was always something. So with this, I kind of took it the exact same way. I just went head first into it. I was like, how do I make my job easier? And then not only that, but how do I make it so we can recreate these processes for other people to have the same type of success. For me, it always comes back to, I always love the challenge. I don't like to fail and I have a singular focus. So I might not know the most about actual roofing systems, wind uplifts, all of like the very specific stuff that wasn't never what got me excited, right? Like the business got me excited, the service got me excited, the operations did. So for me, it was always easy. You know, I loved what I did. It was financially rewarding when I did great. Not only did I get paid really well, but and the rush of being successful and closing $1 million deal the first time or your first $5 million deal. Like when I first started, I was trying to sell $5,000, $10,000 roofs, right? So once you get a taste of that, there's two things that could happen. Either you make a whole bunch of money and now you're going to go out and party with all your sit and different stuff and you're going to get distracted. I always was chasing the next thing, man. And not only the next big sale, but how do we make it more common? How do we repeat this process? What worked? What didn't work? What could be done better? And I'm still that way today. I spend the part of my day that I love is the building stuff and reviewing processes and trying to get better and more efficient and make my team members more successful.
No, it's super interesting, and that's why I wanted to ask more about it and just the pattern recognition and just what type of tendencies or habits that you had that allowed you to get to a certain place. So I think the perspective you had of maybe not being too in the weeds of like how to actually execute a new roof or a service, but having the business aspect, the technical skills to be dangerous, but then also the pattern recognition about optimizing systems seems to have paid dividends. And talking about this pivot that you mentioned a little bit earlier, when did you realize or the company realize that, let's maybe stop just being a roofing contractor and make this pivot into more the data side? You could, I think, start off by talking about what was your ICP back then? What were the typical client portfolio? What did it look like then? And then what did you start moving into afterwards?
Yeah, so in the beginning, when I started, it was extremely local. The Madison multifamily owners and developers that were part of our client base, very local. You know, like Southern Wisconsin local. You don't even you barely cross the state
Yeah.
line. Every once in a while, you'd have something in like northeast Iowa. That was like getting outside of your comfort zone, right? Because
Okay.
they had something. Um, so then when I moved to Omaha, I started getting into opportunities with the existing clients that I had formed here and the relationships that they had stuff, now they got stuff in Colorado. Now they got stuff in Kansas, Missouri, South Dakota. It's just always expanding into a regional thing. And once it became regional and we had to build that machine, right? Like as soon as it's easy when you can drive over there in 30 minutes or have somebody go over there and handle it. Once you got regional, the processes had to be even better. The training, the people that you hire. Like I said, I don't know everything, right? So I have to hire people who love that part of the job as much as I love the part of the job that I do. So, once we built that piece, and you had to get licensed in all the different states that covered, and then you start to see what that testing looks like and that compliance looks like, and it's a never evolving thing. And then I was lucky. I found a great partner who ended up bringing in another partner for us. So there's three of us. These guys live in Austin, Texas, well connected. We're not roofers by any stretch, right? One was an attorney, still an attorney. The other one makes films and at a couple mortgage banks. So, but I saw some potential in who they were and what they were believing what I was saying, which was we can take this bigger, right? Like our clients are bigger, they're everywhere. Like how do we capture this market so that way we never have slow periods. We don't have to worry about the cold in the north, or we don't have to worry about the hurricane season in Florida. We're pretty much everywhere. We get an opportunity to move our business based on what makes sense. And it also happens to make sense for our clients. Taking care of their stuff, not on oh, it's spring or it's fall, but looking at their individual properties and their locations and servicing them and inspecting them based on what makes the most sense, right? So Florida, you have to go inspect that stuff before hurricane season. And then you still have to inspect it early enough for them to be able to do what you're suggesting and make the repairs that you've identified that are needed. And it's totally different in Washington and it's totally different in the Northeast. So those were the types of things that we've, realized were advantageous. And not everybody was selling it to the customers that way, that it's actually important. It's an educational thing. And when everything was segmented with their previous contractors versus us being able to roll out a national program for them, it's a game changer. Now they're looking at everything as a whole instead of all these individual segments of different types of reporting. The national thing just kind of grew out of the regional thing, which grew out of the local thing. It was, if we're always trying to get better, we should always be looking for new clients that fit and appreciate what we're bringing to the table. We don't want to be a contractor that you call, hey, I need a third bid. Hey, I need a leak service. We do that, and we use that as an opportunity to build a relationship and educate them on why we're different and why there's a better way to do this than being reactive or going and getting three bids that don't match. Like, who's comparing these things, and is anybody actually telling you what is value versus what is cheap? Synonymous. So that's kind of been just, again, just, I don't know how to say it other than it's just a constantly evolving machine that, we spend a lot of time trying to figure out how to be better serve our customers.
Yeah, it seems like, when we talked before, everyone could be a contractor to do that, right? How you
Yeah.
said, it's like you can't throw a rock and not hit a roofing contractor, right? They're everywhere. What's going to make you different? And I think that you just mentioned it, and getting a team of people, including yourself, who have a bigger picture in mind, and can kind of, it seems like, bring in these other experiences, life experiences, work experiences to the business to really differentiate yourself and expand. And I think it's really, really interesting. I want to double click on what that actually means for the client, right? So they typically get maybe more of a contract work, even for the bigger companies. If you speak more to that super briefly about like what would they usually get, and then you guys, I think you talked about it a little bit, and then I'd love to dive into even more of the offer and the value package. And you mentioned it, just being that true partner with your clients.
Yeah, that is definitely what we are pitching, right? Partnership. It has to go both ways. So with us, we can qualify people pretty quickly as far as what they want and whether they're a good fit for us, and they probably can do the same thing. So on a national level, one of the big differentiators I have mentioned is standardization, right? If you have a different contractor in every city in every region who has a good relationship with an on-site manager, or because they took them out to lunch, or they have a maintenance guy who has a friend that does roofing, and so that's who they call, you're not getting any type of standardization. You're calling things different. You have different expectations from contractor to contractor. Some guys come in and write on a piece of paper. Some guys will send you like some pictures in the email as individual attachments. And there's different levels of this. But for us, the goal was always easy to understand, clearly defined what's an emergency and urgent that needs to be taken care of immediately because it's leaking, or if it's not, it should be any day. Proactive stuff, which is more of this is going to become one of these emergency and urgent items if you let it, and it's going to cost more because tenant disruptions, you're going to have leaks, you're going to have damage to your reputation, you have interior damage costs. All of these things that are eliminated by using us in the fact that the information's right there. We keep it simple. We have account managers that call. They explain this to people. What is it that is going to save you money long term? It seems like when you call the local roofer and you have a leak and he's there in 30 minutes and he gives you an invoice, what did he do? I mean, a lot of times they don't know and there's no history. With us, the history's here. That's where the data comes in. We know what types of leaks you've had, what types of individual failure penetration. We count how many are related to sealant, how many are pitch pockets, how many are corners. We count these, we track these, we track them over years. And so we can go back, look at the entire history and say, look, you had 17 failures on corners. You got 100 corners out here. It only makes sense that the other 83 of those are going to become a leak, which if you're a reactive customer, you only call me when there's a leak. So I'm going to come fix 2 patches at a time. I'll tell you, you got another 80 to do, but they aren't a proactive customer and they don't find value. They're just constantly playing whack-a-mole, right? And so that's what we're trying not to be. We will be your proactive contractor. We'll document it, and I love it. They call, they're like, hey, we got a leak on building 17. I look, I'm like, yeah, it makes sense. We got $8,000 worth of emergency repairs to do on there that's been sitting there for 60 days. And for whatever reason, we never got a decision. It's lagged. It's sitting there. So now you got a leak there. It could be any of those items.
Yeah.
It's pretty easy, right?
Congrats. Congrats. You kicked the can far enough down the road, but the bill
Yeah,
is
and is
due.
it cheaper now? It's not
Yeah.
cheaper anymore. You didn't want to. They
Mhm.
might not want to spend $8,000, but one water damage leak, one displaced tenant, one complaint online. All of these things really add up a lot faster than just biting the bullet and avoiding the situation, the negative situation altogether. You cut your leaks down like 90%, and I'm not exaggerating. The good properties that we do annual, biannual, proactive inspections, and then they order the repairs, you almost never see leaks. They just don't happen.
That's that's amazing, and I think a great way if you have a recent example or a great example of this and how you got someone to understand the value of the partnership and just how much they saved and just some of the key kind of like ROI they have. You mentioned it before, but I think and if you're not able to mention like clients' names, you don't have to, but any
Yeah, yeah,
story
I
too to
I
kind of
could totally do it without
yeah,
mentioning.
yeah. That'd be great.
Yeah, I mean, the stories about what we do go on forever, but, as far as these types of leaks, we see them a lot. Gosh, I can't come up with one off the top of my head because 'cause they're so common, and I luckily don't have to deal with them very often unless they get
Yeah.
escalated to me. So,
No,
as
and
far as,
that's
like,
fine too,
some of the
yeah.
better stories, yeah, like, warranty ones are easier, right? I mean, a leak is one thing, and then we have, like, the warranty maintenance of the warranty is kind of along the same lines of we give people warranties, contractors give warranties, we track them, we know when who the manufacturer is installed, when does it expire, what are the requirements to maintain it, and I find a lot of owners don't understand the owner obligations because contractors don't explain it to them. And so that's part of our educational process too, is collecting the warranties, reviewing them, telling them what their obligations are to maintain that warranty, similar to changing oil in your car. Got to do it if you want the warranty to be good later.
Yeah.
We find a lot that is similar to a leak issue not being handled is they don't take care of the basic requirements, which are annual inspections, documenting the inspection, documenting the proactive repairs that are made, which are considered to be owner obligations. If you don't do all those things and then they all of a sudden want to file a warranty, well, warranty claim, which I get probably once every 3, 4 months, I'll get an owner that'll be like, "Hey, we got a leak. Can't we turn this into our manufacturer warranty? You got any records of the inspections, the annual inspections? You got any records?" Nobody knows anything. Everybody, it's set it and forget it. They got a piece of paper
Yeah.
and they assume that it'll cover everything. And in the end, warranties are the opposite. They almost cover nothing. And I'm not being like hating on warranties 'cause they can be good. I've seen them be good, but most of the time, the reason that a roof leaked is because the owners didn't do basic maintenance, not because of a roof failure.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, a lot of it sounds like, right, we don't fix these, we fix leaks cheaper, but it's not that. It's more of like you spend a little bit proactively. Now you have a partner that'll protect your operating income, right? You don't get into the messiness of the warranties, et cetera, all these different things that I can imagine that's not the client's business. Like they don't wanna be doing that. That's probably why it's neglected so much, right? They have their eyes on other things, and I imagine finding the language as you described to really get them over the line, to actually show them to close that deal, is something that, has been, I imagine, has gotten better and better. But with the more case studies you have, and like you said, there's definitely a lot. The stickiness, I imagine, of that data is so valuable to these clients. And that's the first thing I thought of when we talked about it. And I'd love to talk more about just kind of like that, the technology as much as you are willing and able to do. So, you have all of this data for them. It's put in a nice place. Take us through some of the iterations to get there briefly. I know it was over a couple year period, but some of the iterations to really make it user friendly, to really show the value to your partners, and some of the maybe new and exciting things that you have on the horizon.
Yeah, technology has been pretty amazing, right? Like, I think we talked about it before. It's like I've had all these ideas, and we've got automations and you know data collection and distilling down data and all of that stuff. Just as a manual level, you can do. It just takes an immense amount of manpower to go through and create this information that we always wanted to be able to give our clients, which is what should you expect? What is reasonable forecasting that's based in fact and not anecdotal, like the general stuff that you can find online, but specific. So I've tried, I've tried building our own years ago, which would have been like a standalone software, and then we tried to outsource pieces of it, and it never materialized in a format and finished product that accomplished the goal. A little over a year ago, you start seeing the A&N videos, and that gets your mind thinking about simple automations and all of the little things that you could do. So we hired some interns. We brought in some interns, and we're like, let's play with this for a few months and see what works, what doesn't work, and what we can learn from it with no real objective of a master plan of we're going to build out this whole AI automation, data collection, sorting. But once I had them in here and I could see what they were capable of with the coding these days with Claude Code and being able to accomplish so much more with a smaller staff, a development staff. We started to really broaden the things that we knew we should be able to get from the data. Things that we can get from the data are really powerful, right? Like I can tell how much somebody spends on what type of repairs on an annual basis. I can tell when they have leaks. I can tell when storm events happen to correspond with that. I'm able to give them the historical data of repairs, what's been done, the leaks that have been fixed, what's coming down the pipeline as far as if I identify a certain type of deficiency failing a lot. Now I can forecast that that is going to become a real thing that's going to impact budgets over the next 1 to 5 years. Those same accessories or components are going to continue to fail. They're all the same age. So they don't send text messages or anything before they fail, right? They send water, send a leak. So
Yeah, surprise.
We were able to design and develop, not me, the development team was able to develop ways to extract all of these data points that we've been collecting for years, sort them, and then, basically create language learning models, right? Can go in and do exactly what we need with that data to be able to forecast with it. So that has been one of the bigger pieces to us is the confidence to the sales team because they know what they're saying is accurate within a reasonable doubt and the clients can depend on it because we're able to actually show them individual KPIs of what they're spending year over year and what's failing year over year based on the individual system and climate. It's just different than what most people are able to provide to the customer. They're spending that money anyways. It's because you're spending it on elite calls or you're going to spend it in capital expenditure sooner than you would have had to later. Or in our case, we try to thread the needle and show them that being proactive and repairing things on time and on schedule is going to save them money in the long run for sure and is definitely going to cut down on their work orders and the staff and the stress and all the things that go along with leaks and trying to manage vendors.
Was there one moment in this kind of technological transformation within the company and exploration that you and the team have been doing? Was there one moment where you're like, "Wow, we really have something here?"
There's been a whole lot of those. A lot of times, it's kind of like peeling an onion. You have an idea, you have some data, you do a little bit of research into that data, and then you go, oh, what else? What other implications can this data give us? Like, what else do we have that we can peel out of here that make it even more valuable? Just the continuous changes in
Mhm,
what we're capable of doing because you see this huge improvement. You see the huge improvement, and then you go, oh, work to get here to get this piece of information like now how can that be used better so those things happen all of the time. A prime example that we were working on recently is just like the CRM piece of there's a million CRMs, out of the box CRMs. They're great, they're not built specifically for us, they're not built specifically for our clients, so we start out building a very simple CRM with all the data points that we collect that we believe are valuable, and then once we get into that we're like, oh, okay, so now we're going to have basically you can go in, you got an opportunity, somebody hasn't ordered this 10,000 repairs, our guys can go in now and they can hit summarize and it'll go behind the scenes, it analyzes the
mhm,
entire history. It analyzes what was identified for repairs 3 years ago, how much was ordered, how much was left, how many leaks have they had in between that and the next year's inspection that were actually on items that we identified that they kicked the can on because it didn't make financial sense to them at the time. So the power of information that we're able to put in people's hands now and just know the history of the property. So that was a huge piece, right? And then you get that data analyzed and summarized, and then now we can draft emails for the sales team. They review them, they make sure it all makes sense, but they understand the history of the property
mhm.
extremely well. It makes it a lot easier to explain it to the customer. And then, that was super exciting for us when we got that piece done. And now that we have that, like now how do you take it further? The individual, like the psychology of dealing with different personality types and pretty much just whatever you can think of that makes exceptionally good salespeople, you can go out, find it, and if you got somebody who can build it, you can pick out
Mhm.
behavior for emails, from phone calls. You can identify what type of a buyer, what type of a personality you're dealing with. The limit is whatever you can think of. So we're always trying to push the envelope.
As a leader, who maybe, you're not trained on AI or these technologies, how is it knowing that you're aware there's this high leverage technology that's changing every day that could really help our business? I don't know where to start. Think about these people who might have a roofing company or any other company that's in this position of, okay, we do what we do well. I'm looking to grow in all these ways. I know this is important. what are those first steps that I should take? How did that come, and how do you think about that?
Yeah, I think that probably depends on the issues that your company is dealing with at that time, right? Do you need more cash flow? Do you have structural problems within your operations in project management or project closeout? Or so to me, it was focus on and organize the problems and what you see as possibilities. So I basically keep a never ending list in my phone that is at 11 o'clock at night, 2 o'clock in the morning, whatever. It doesn't matter. I'm talking to you. I might have a little spark of something, but to me, if I was starting this journey right now all over again, I think I would focus on my inefficiencies first because you already have a revenue source, you already have clients, you already have customers. How do you maximize your profitability while also providing a better service and product to the client? So if you can identify where you aren't as good as you want to be, and those are constant problems, you see them once a month, you see them once every couple months, just need to get after it. You need to identify it, start using ChatGPT or Grok or whatever it is, and go into that problem as deeply as you possibly can to try to come up with solutions. And then you build out. Today, it's so much easier than it was 5 years ago or probably even 2 years ago. Like you identify a problem and you got to like create a SOP of and giant lists of SOPs. Now, if you've already been down that road, now it's just a matter of figuring out how without breaking the bank you can go out and start to initiate some of these small programs that you're going to get a return on real fast.
I think there's a big thing here that I'm thinking about is, you went out, you probably started playing with things. You had all of this information, right? You have years of experience, all of this, all these patterns that you've recognized and the goals that you want to get to. You could see some similar bottlenecks that are, like you said, the inefficiencies in the business that you wanted to address. But I think there's something where an operator, even at a mid-sized company, could start playing with it themselves, look at the information they have, the data they have. But I think it's another thing to be like, I'm going to hire, like you did, I'm going to hire some interns, or where maybe it's not an intern. I'm going to really go out there and hire, whether it's an agency or whoever else, to invite them in. I feel like if you want to talk to how you think about that, when did you feel like you were ready for that? Was it something where you were like, I've seen enough, and it could be like, I've seen 5 seconds of this. I know that this isn't my expertise. I have a lot of ideas, but I just need someone to do the building. And I feel comfortable with them with not having a plan. I think people aren't comfortable with paying, especially someone else, and you might not know exactly. There's so much value to be added and things to be fixed, but it's kind of like figure it out as you go a little bit. What would you tell to those people who might be in that position?
Yeah, it's tough. It's always tough to spend money and hope that you get what you're paying for. And with technology and AI and all of these individual agencies and outsourcing options, it can be overwhelming. And I've tried most of them, and I was disappointed pretty much every time. When you have the money, you should look into it, and you should definitely have a deliverable and a set price that you're comfortable paying to take care of those items. Open-ended projects run long. They just keep pushing the dates back. It can be exceedingly frustrating. It was for me. Whether it's starting with creating real SOPs off from doing it yourself on a Chat GPT type thing. I mean, you got to start somewhere. And then if you're going to take the next step and you're going to start spending money, be really clear, really concise, do your homework, let AI help you do your homework. And AI will help you build out the full blueprint, the full step by step for a developer. And there's outsourcing companies out there that will definitely take on a $5,000 product or project. $10,000 project. I was always leery of it because I've never won doing it that way. So for me, that's where I would start if I was really frugal and I didn't like to push all my chips in all the time. I'm the polar opposite. If I had a good year and I have some money sitting around, I'm going to probably push most of that money back into the company and I'm going to try to make it better. So, multiple ways to get there. I think you just got to
Mhm.
start. And starting with something you understand would probably be best. So, if there's some
Yeah,
inefficient that you truly understand and you can design and lay out with the help of AI, I would start there.
that makes sense. And I think the big thing, at least from what I hear you saying, is, you have to get in the weeds a little bit. You can't just pretend exactly when you hire someone or when you work with a partner, just as you were to work with your clients, you have to get information from them too, and you have to do your part. So it sounds like, right? It sounds like when it went the best for you, you did your homework. You really thought about the destination that you wanted to go to, and you put in the work so that maybe you can hire the skills or just, sometimes people don't have the time to do it. They might know a little bit, but they just don't have the time to execute and maintain it constantly. It seems like that homework was just like such a big part of it. But at the end of the day, you said, you got to start somewhere. It seems like the future and seems like you guys are on the right path in this market. And I can imagine, kind of the world's your oyster with this business model that you have. Is there anything new and exciting that you're looking forward to for the rest of the year?
Yeah, we're working on some stuff with our service department next or 2 projects from now. I mean, all the stuff that we're working on has been prioritized, right? So the top of the list is either really fixing inefficiencies or waste of our individual people's time, or it's revenue based. We've built such a good infrastructure now that it's fun to put more money into the sales, the biz dev, the infrastructure to sell better and more intelligently was a big focus. Next, we're moving over to tackle more pieces of our service department since we're a national provider of inspections and service. I think we're licensed in 44 or 45 states.
Mhm.
Just the crazy amount of logistics that goes into moving these people around the country and
Yeah.
being organized with it and using resources properly. Things change all the time, right? Weather changes, new priority tickets come in. Some of our techs are good at some stuff, but maybe not awesome. They don't like steep slope. They only like low slope. Some people are amazing at finding leaks, others not the greatest at it. We put a whole lot of time into developing a plan and the understanding of how we can create workflows, automated workflows that run in the background, whether it be scheduling. Scheduling is one that's really big for me, making sure people are in the right places, making sure we're doing priority tickets in the priority order that we have them in. 8 different buckets, right? And so, make sure we're hitting off the top ones first, the oldest ones first, travel. Being able to automate that piece where it just runs in the background and it goes, "Oh, John's in Massachusetts right now. We have a new ticket come in. It's in Boston, and we have this thing that's been hanging out here for a month, but it's not a priority. It's just an inspection that needs to be done." If this thing is running in the background and can pick out guys that are in that area, and then it can help go online and do all the searching for us. So we do it. It's not rocket science, but you still got to go check flights, check rental cars, check hotels, all these moving parts that can happen in the background, tee it up for our dispatcher. All they got to do is open it up and go, here's my next 6 things that I need to give Bill, or here's 8
Mhm.
things that I want to send Rachel to, and then based on how long they can be out. So that is a huge exciting one for me because I know it'll relieve stress for the people that work in the management part of service, being able to basically expand their bandwidth because if they don't have to spend 20% of their day figuring out all of these moving pieces to being a traveling company, now they can handle 20% more people.
Yeah. Well, you have a lot of exciting things to tackle, a lot of problems and little inefficiencies, and there's gonna be new ones once you fix those ones. but I'm excited to see where this all goes and see you guys grow. For people listening, where can people find you? Where would you like to direct people? If there's anything I missed that you'd like to mention, this is kind of the time to do it. But where would you leave people off with?
Yeah, I mean, we're always able to be found on our website, hustadcompanies.com. That's probably your best source. LinkedIn is a great source for us too. You can find me there. You can find Hustad Companies on LinkedIn. We do a pretty good job trying to talk about all the things we talked about today, the value adds that we bring to the customers, the clients that we have, what should be important if they don't even realize it, right? You got how many people working for you, everybody's got a job, everybody's got a task. It's hard to expect a facilities manager or regional manager to know everything that's going on for their exteriors. So having a partner that you can actually trust that's going to give you all the information in a way that you can digest it and not burn up a bunch of your time. Um, yeah, that we'd love to be found. We're always looking for clients that, that could be partners.
Love it. Well, they know where to go. It's been a pleasure. Really great conversation. I think people should definitely keep an eye out and reach out, check your company, and find not only just a contractor, but a true partner that you could stick with for a long time to come. So, thank you very much, Eric, for coming on today. It was a great time.
Yeah, Dylan, it was great talking with you.
Awesome.